Hello, my name is Gary Mansfield, and this is a bonus episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. Now, as ever, let's begin by banging these bongos.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. Today I'm going to take you to meet photographer Peter Lee. And although photography, well, developing at least, has been in his family for years, it wasn't until the COVID lockdowns that Peter started making photography a little bit more than a hobby. Peter is very well known for taking upward panoramic views inside many of Britain's cathedrals. And I recommend, if you're able, to go and have a look at his Instagram profile while you're listening to this podcast. His images are absolutely stunning. You'll find them at pli.panda. In this episode, Peter talks of his most challenging creations, those he's working on at the moment, and those that are on his bucket list, as well as the use of AI in photography. But don't let me tell you everything. So please let me introduce you to Peter Lee.
Hey, how you doing?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Nice to meet you, Gary.
And you. I do have 7 questions I ask each guest.
Yeah.
And the first being, how would you explain what you do to someone that may not know your work?
It's a good question because very often people, we've got two kinds of people. Usually photographers would notice, because they're a bit more familiar with looking at the image, they would analyze, how did he shoot that? Normally people will look at it and think, it's a mirror flip or something. It's very abstract, and it doesn't really, it's not self-explanatory enough to tell people that actually is a panoramic image of something that from one end to the other. So part of my photography, it's got that sort of fantasy and otherworldly, which actually is inspired from gaming.
Yeah.
Particularly the console gaming from Japan in the 90s. And they, and it'll probably sound very long because I probably need to break it down. So if someone who I never met before, who just want to hear like 30 seconds of me explaining, I don't know what.
Well, it's architectural. It's architectural photography, isn't it?
It is architectural photography, but at the same time, is not. Because very often in architectural photography to me at least, it feels like it's got a stricter rule. We've got like the verticals need to be straight. Everything has to be very sort of, you're not overexposing anything, you're not underexposing anything. So everything has to be immaculate in some ways. So in that, under those circumstances, this is not architectural photography. Because I did have these. It doesn't go by those rules.
No.
Yeah. So it's more. It's more. I guess it's more abstract than architectural photography, but it is based on a historical architecture that I would like to create the scene that normal circumstances, it would take multiple pictures to show people the entire space and how it feels like. But what I'm trying to do is try to attempt to create a scene from its entirety. It's almost like, well, if this is the blueprint from what the architect was thinking, from like the beams on the ceilings and everything, and to the columns on the edges, like how does it all meld together into one?
Well, and I would say, unless you've actually been into a cathedral and looked up, you won't recognise your work, or at least you'd have less chance of recognising it. It's only because a few months ago, me and my wife went to Sagrada Familia.
Yeah.
And man, you get a crooked neck from going to that building, just looking up all day. It was stunning. It was because of the photographs I took looking up that I recognised your photographs,
Oh, thank you. I've never been there yet.
I was amazed to find out that you've not been there.
I've not been there yet. Yeah, I went to Madrid last year with a few photographers who does a similar kind of thing. So we got together and they took me around Madrid and Segovia. But yeah, like Barcelona is on the list. It's just I haven't get around to go there yet.
Well, I can't see how any other building can beat it
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. Because someone's done it already. Like,
Oh, no
someone,
doubt, no
yeah,
doubt.
yeah, yeah,
But you
yeah.
haven't.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
No.
I like to, but it's also nice to because there are a few people who because it's a bit like Marmite, the stuff that I do. Like as I mentioned before, you either get it or you don't. The ones who did, usually photographers, are also very keen to, oh, how do you do that? So they want to try.
The
So they
technical
would,
side, yeah.
yeah. So I would, yeah. Sometimes I reach out and I'll just tell them like, try this setup or do this. If you have this, do that, and then so they did it. So like I'm not trying to hog this. I didn't invent this thing, this kind of photography. It's been done 20 years ago.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
But obviously the
It's
software was
beautiful
up to point.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
It's one technique isn't for one person, is it?
No, no. I mean, the it would be very different because we all see the world differently. Even the same photo can be very different. I mean, architecturally, it's quite difficult because we are looking at the perfect center, for it to work. Because churches, cathedrals, if you look at it from the bird's eye view or from a drone point of view, yeah, they're usually a cross. So you
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
you have the entrance and nave, and you've got the middle, which is the crossing bit, and you've got a transept on the sides, and then you go to the top where the altar is. So they are designed to be, perfectly symmetrical and almost like both sides. If you look up and you look forward and back, it's a perfect symmetry.
Yeah.
In many ways, and they like the foundations do sort of because it's so heavy. It's been there for so many years. They do slightly go off a little. So some of the older cathedrals, when you do a Virtuorama from one end, it looks perfect, and you sort of move to the back, and hold on a minute, it's sort of off a little bit.
Oh, well, okay.
So yeah, it happens. It happens. But most of them that I've been to, they are immaculate, which is quite an amazing achievement from 1500s, 1400s, 1200s, like Renaissance period and the Gothic period. It's amazing what the engineers and they were able to do that, the mathematicians. I can't even line my photo frames right. So
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Peter, did you have creativity in home growing up?
I suppose, well, my dad liked music, but I'm not big. Actually, my dad does photography, but he hated it.
Oh, okay.
And the reason is my grandfather and my grandma used to they run a like photo development little shop in.
Oh, okay.
So it's grown over years, but when my dad was growing up, he was made to do all the school photographs for his school because he runs that the family business is photography, and they developed the films. So like, could you just do that? So he was made to be the boy who does all the class photos.
Just by proxy, yeah.
I know, so he just hates photography, but he knows about photography. So at the time when my daughter was born, like 10 years ago, I want to take it more seriously. So I want to take better pictures, and my wife hates my pictures because I never understand. For me it just snaps,
Yeah.
But then I don't understand focal lengths. I don't understand what's a 17 to 55. Like, what do I do?
Oh, okay.
So I often on the wide, and then you had a header on the side, so that her elbow was a massive, and so it's nice because she's honest. We're both from art school. We both did art school, so she's quite honest with me with the opinions of what she likes and what she doesn't in the art sense. So it's great. There's no sugarcoating.
Good, and
No
rightly
filter.
so.
And that was probably the best thing. Like for me as a photographer, like someone who has an eye for it, who lives with me, and will not give me any bollocks,
No, right as well. That's the best way.
Yeah.
You was obviously a creative mind to go to. Did you say it was an art school you went to?
Central St. Martin's.
Studying
Product design.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of weird, I know, but because it's not exactly sort of fine art really, but yeah, the skills with product design is very similar to graphics. So the editing skill set is transferable, like Photoshop and editing is. I've been doing it for years because of that. And I've been doing it before that, like before universities. I've been enjoying just playing around Photoshop and messing about. Using that for so many years, it becomes quite second nature when we want to create something. So it really helped sort of envisioning how the scene would look like. Even though the lighting that mostly the time that I was there was based on that. I don't recreate so much. So it's a bit of a blend of my editing, but I don't go overly bored with adding stuff to it. But I would shape the light a little so that it helps with the composition. And also the toning and everything. It's very, very inspired by what I was mentioning earlier, the 90s gaming world. I don't know if you're familiar with
that wasn't a world that I entered.
Yeah, so
I was in a different world in the 90s.
But it's I mean, I guess because in Asia we don't have cathedrals like these, so there is a romantic kind of fantasy sort of admiration to castles and the cathedrals, like these beautiful Gothic architecture, very, very different to what we have in Hong Kong, in Japan, the Japanese gamers, like, they seem to create this like romantic relationship with how these scenes would be. So they have really dramatic lights. They create that vision. Even though obviously the graphics wasn't that great back in the 90s, but you get the feel of it. So that was done very well through illustrators and and game design. So I was grown up playing those games. I always felt, oh my god, when you go to, like, when I came to UK and when I started photography after my daughter was born, I was doing street photography and sort of daily commute. When I go to the office, the studio, I would just take snaps on the train and shoot. And I happened to see one of the cathedrals in London, and I wasn't interested before, but I looked at it. I was like, oh my god, these are amazing. So I wasn't religious as such, but I'm just a sheer scale of it.
Well, I would say I'm not a spiritual person, Peter, but when I go into a building like that, Sagrada Familia, when I went in there, for the time I was in there, I was definitely part of it. Sheer beauty and the monumental size of the place, the colours, the everything was perfect. So for that moment, I could have easily have joined whatever gang wanted to take me.
I can totally relate to that. It is. They are amazing. Like, obviously the one that you've been to is absolutely like pinnacle of it. I personally really enjoy visiting the Gothic ones, like the English Gothic ones in here. Like, because you've got narrow windows, you've got these little pointy bits, and so they always have a very dramatic light, especially in the mornings when you go. So I try to visit them really, really early. When it's quiet. When someone would actually rock up to me and ask me what am I doing with the camera, I try to reach out to them beforehand, just because I don't want to, because they are private places, even though they are open to public. Photography has been, they're not prohibited, but they are aware that you're not supposed to use this for personal use. You can't sell them. You can't. So going through the hurdle of meeting them, building a relationship, and then selling prints in their shops or selling it on my online shop as well, and it's a bit of it takes a while to build up. So it's not so much like how I suppose, like, every genre of photography has its own hurdles to do. So whether if there's a lot of planning and there's a lot of luck that involved in the weather, or if the stars align, if the moons align, hiking, travel, landscape photography, they all have the difficulties, and my ones is literally, it's still in the city. I live in London, so it's very easy for me to go there, but to getting the rights to photograph it and using a tripod to photograph it is, those are the hurdles that I had to deal with, rather than trying to get the right scene. That the buildings are there for thousands of years, so for 1,000 years or more, and they never move.
No, exactly.
So my subject is not a problem, but getting in there and getting the rights to set up the camera so I can shoot it and exactly the way I want it, that was the hurdle. these.
You mentioned there about tripod. Are you not allowed to use a tripod in those buildings?
Most of them don't. Maybe that's. I mean, UK and also in Spain, I think Italy as well. Like there are a lot of places that they see a tripod. Say no, you can't use it.
Because now I think of it, I didn't see one there, but I did see a couple of people with a camera on a staff, if you like.
Yeah. I think a lot of the reason is they almost health and safety. They don't want people to trip over a tripod when they're laying down. So that kind of bends the rule a little bit. You have
first of all, I thought it was really. So, are your images captured while the building is closed?
No. Most of them are done during opening hours. It's just that I'm the first one in. So when they open at 9 or 10 o'clock, I'll be there half an hour before they open.
Got you.
So mostly is that case. And then when I first started, obviously I've got nothing to show for. But nowadays I always carry like a photo book with me. I mean, it's not for sale, but this is just for me to bring to.
I see.
So whenever,
just to give people a visual idea of what you're actually going to be doing.
Because I guess they're not familiar with people just sharing images on Instagram, just like this is me, and you're scrolling through the phone, and it doesn't compute, especially the stuff that I do. They look tiny on the phone; you can't really see any detail. So having a printed book just makes everything a little bit more official.
Yeah.
So there is a level of seriousness of what you want to do, so they respect that more.
Over the last 20 years or so, everyone's got a camera in their pocket. So photography is more in people's lives now than it ever was before. I mean, it was said some time ago that there's more photographs taken in 1 month than the first century of photography.
I think I remember. I can't remember which article it is, but yeah, there was. Well, it definitely is.
Although I've got to say, I know little about photography, but the cameras on a phone are quite amazing, aren't they? Considering the size of them.
They are. They're because they are essentially 28mm for like an equivalent to a full frame camera lens. They do capture very beautiful scenes, and the resolution is amazing. They have AI technology to help you enhance the image as well, or even create that depth of field that we want.
Yeah.
So they are for most cases like because I started photography taking pictures of my kids. It's just to document them. I haven't had a vision of doing what I'm doing now with having a project that would last me. I don't know, as long as I probably be alive, there will be more churches than I can ever photograph. So I don't know how this project is going to go. But it will be a journey for me to keep going. So
you say you don't know how it's going to go, but how did it start?
Because I always been shooting pictures of my family, and then I sort of transitioned to taking photos of weddings. But that was all done because I was photographing with one lens and one lens only for like a year. But that was a portrait lens at 85mm, so you get really nice separation. You get there's no distortion as much.
Yeah.
Before I start buying everything and trying to figure out too much, because my mind, I'm not very good at multitasker, or I'm not very good at thinking various things at a time. I'm quite hyper focused. So I rather make my choices simple. So I picked the prime lens that I can't zoom. It's easy for my mind to not think about, maybe I should zoom in or zoom out. Just walk around. This is what I do. So having that limitation was actually the creation of what I do. Because limitations force you to be creative. I think having a zoom lens makes it very easy to reference like what someone else has done. But if I don't have that focal length, I can't. So I need to be on my feet and think about, okay, what can I do with this? And then there was during the time when I was at work, I always carry one lens and one camera, and every day, 365 days a year. And they had some sort of art installation in Covent Garden with all the balloons on. I've got 85mm and I couldn't capture the whole thing, so I remembered there's a wedding photographer called Ryan Bernizer, and he did he stitched images together.
Oh, yeah.
So you take one shot and you move and you take another shot and you're overlapping part of it.
Yeah,
so that when you put it in Photoshop, it understand like where each piece is going.
Yeah.
So you sort of shoot multiple pictures and you put it together. So I started with 2 or 3 and then I started doing 6. So at that time in Covent Garden, I just went like boom, 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 and you get the whole scene, and it looks like something like a slightly wider, like a 35
Yeah,
or
yeah.
28 mil. But I was shot with the 85, and because it was done that way, we get the qualities of the 85 or the compression. But it just creates a very different atmosphere that would have if you done with the phone.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, because it was done with such a different lens, the viewpoint feels different. Even though I'm staying there, the image feels different to what you would have normally shot with a phone or a wider angle. So that just got me going to try different things. I was doing these. I started with 4 or 5 shots, and then I end up doing 20 or 30, just rows of them, and then just to experiment. So that was 2015, 2016. I was just experimenting with all these. And then later
it's a beautiful feeling, Peter, when you sort of come across something that ticks all the boxes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of
very exciting.
It's liberating.
Yeah.
And also, you know how nowadays, I mean, people like shooting film nowadays more so than 10 years ago or 20 years ago, because I guess we're so used to instant gratification. Like you take a picture on your phone, you see what's behind it, and then you would sort of readjust it and think. So you end up spending a lot of time looking at what you're shooting and looking at review what you've done. Shooting film slows the whole process down, isn't it? Because you've got that anticipation of, I'm really I'm hoping that it's going to come out right.
Yeah.
You get that excitement like a kid. You're waiting for it. So I think people love that feeling. Like nowadays, back in the day was a chore because they feel like, I need to wait, and then there's a time you need to develop the film. But nowadays, I want to have that bit of delay. I want my heart to feel a little bit like excitement. What is it going to be like? It's almost
bringing
like,
atmosphere into the work.
Yeah. It's like you don't know what the prize is. You want something. You feel like I think I nailed the shot, but because these things I do with Veterana, you never see the whole picture on the back of the camera, so you only see part of the picture. But for it to actually see the whole thing, whether it works or not, is down to when you get back home and you start to process it, and then see how it comes out. So that's one of the fun things about it. And also because we only take a part of the picture, we spend so much more time sort of analyzing the details and everything. Because as I told you, I'll work in graphics design. I can spend a week choosing a font and I'll be happy. So So that level of intense labor on something that is seemingly insignificant, and a lot of people who I guess, because some photographers like editing, and some people, they just wanted to enjoy capturing the exact moment. So they're both great. For me, because I'm a graphic design background, I enjoy the editing as much as the shooting, and I do spend a lot more time editing, because the shooting process of something like that, like getting it aligned, depending whether it's busy or not, it varies. Like it can take 3 hours to shoot, or it can take 20 minutes to shoot. Depending on the condition. The editing, however, I try to go in as much detail as I can, so I really, and also because you're putting so many images together, there's always some misalignments. And sometimes a line would crack and it will sort of misalign with something else, and the chairs don't align, and you need to sort of Photoshop, and you need to know how to do it. So you have to fix all these lines and get it right. So all that process and creating the color and the scene that looks somewhat reminds me of my it's like the gaming world that I love. The fantasy world that I love. So having a color palette for that, I would spend hours just to do multiple tests. Maybe like version number 19. just to, not in a day, but you spend like over the weekends or when after I get the kids to sleep, I will start to build these libraries of just various mood boards.
Oh, so your partner doesn't get to see much of you then?
No, it's literally just like, it's just the door opens and you can smell it. I try to. I used to, like when the kids were younger, I would spend more time editing. Than, nowadays, I sort of, I put them to bed and I'll do like 3-4 hours, and then we'll go to bed at 2 a.m, and then we'll wake up at 8, get into school, come back and do whatever I need, and then continue the process. It's not, most of these are not paid. These are personal jobs, like passion projects. Well, I'll fit it in as much wherever I can. So it usually takes about a month to do one of these, like having to go to that detail, and then go to printing, and then you do a test print, and then you do go back and work it again. So most of these process, it takes a lot longer than what people think.
Yeah. Have you an interest in going into similar sort of buildings other than cathedrals?
Theatres would work, because usually like some of the ones the auditoriums are dome shaped. So the
Yeah.
World Cup
I mean, the Royal Albert Hall's an extraordinary building.
That was great. Yeah. But I wasn't able to get on the stage.
Yeah.
Because theatres are quite. I personally I find it quite difficult to get into shoot, because I guess I can't just walk into the auditorium.
Yeah.
It seems like it was harder for them to say yes for me to go in and photograph. So I did some projects. I worked for South Bank BID to photograph there. So I did the Royal Festival Hall on other occasions, back in the day when Instagram was the heydays, and we have some of my friends who run these photography hubs, and they would talk with the marketing person or the in these various places, and they organize a photo meet, so they can actually use people to share, and we get to take photographs and enjoy the time photograph these places. In those days, then it's sort of more approachable, getting some of the interiors done. Theaters are great. It would be slightly different board game, because I guess the seating is where the interest is.
Yeah.
So in terms of panorama, it may not be a full 180 that way.
Well, you often see a sort of panoramic view when you're booking a ticket now, so that you can see the view from the stage or from your particular seat. So they have done a panoramic view of sorts, haven't they?
Yeah. I think they do. Yeah, those 360 cameras, they would use that, and then they can sort of move the different points. So if you're on the front row seats, this is how it looks like if you're on the upper levels, and so they would have these 360 cameras, and they will record the scene, so you can spin around. Yeah.
Well, from the buildings that you've been in, which has been your most enjoyable, whether it be the experience or the outcome? They don't have to be the same building.
I mean, the ones that are more memorable are the ones that are more challenging, because like this one time when I was photographing Bath Abbey, to get a scene that is completely empty, but it was clearly not empty at the time, because they had a choir going on, and then they have audience coming in to watch the choir. So it was a room, it's quite busy. I had held my camera up just to take pictures for the scene, but I had to wait for someone to get off the seat. So I'd take another shot there.
Yeah.
So I would get that part empty, and then I try to remember like what other seats are there that is not empty to take another shot. That's before the days of AI, So because nowadays you can sort of tell AI, can you remove people, and then they try to match whatever around to build a scene, with similar chairs. So in a sense, nowadays that kind of pictures is easier, but at the time when I did it, they don't have that. So I have to stand right there, wait for someone to move out that space, take another picture, move out that space, take another picture. So that picture took about 3 hours to photograph, just to get all the empty parts. Yeah, it was quite a journey. That wasn't even the hardest one. The hardest one was in Iceland. So their church has really high, like super long windows all the way up.
Okay.
So I went there in the summer as a family trip. During the midday, they're going to have lunch, and I skipped lunch, and I just went in to try to get this shot. And it was super busy, because there was the coaches of people visiting. The challenge was it was a bright daylight. It was clear skies, and the sun was coming right through those windows. Well, whenever it catches the sun, it creates a flare. So whichever angle that I turned, there were flares in multiple parts. So I can't shoot that bit because of that. So I had to wait until the sun to get out of between the windows.
Oh, okay.
And then quickly get the shot. So because there's so many people in there, I can't really get a clear shot. And also because I only had a small tripod when I travel. So, and I guess in Iceland, the benches are quite tall, so I won't be able to look over. Like if I can't see that, and there's also people keep going beside me all the way like that, so left and right coming through. I can't set up a tripod, so I just handheld and did the whole thing. So that was the first time doing a handheld.
You mentioned the use of AI. Have you been using AI in your editing for long?
Not very long, but I think when Photoshop came out with the generative fill to fix certain areas, I started experimenting and using it. And I don't have problem with AI. There's always going to be a pro and cons between different peoples who feel like to what level is okay. I mean, it has at some point it has to be like it has to be something that is of you, whether it's not what you see. I love that quote. It's not about what you see, but what you want others to see.
Yeah.
When photography came out, I suppose there was a time when painters or people who sketch scenes, they're not happy with what photography is doing because it's partly taking the job away, but also I guess it feels like there's effortless to do that. But photography liberated paintings. It's like cars has liberated horses in some way because we no longer use them as a means of commute, but you can have them for different reasons. So with AI being there, partly it's scary because it can take a lot of people's jobs away, like especially on the corporate work jobs. But at the same time, I guess that fear needs to be we can overcome that fear by understanding it. The only reason that we're scared of it is because we're ignorant about how it works and how it doesn't work.
It's the paranoia, isn't it? Being afraid of the unknown.
The being unknown. Yeah. So what can it do? What can it take over? Again, it's a similar thing. So the only way that we can overcome the fear is by education and learning about it ourselves and the parameters of how much it can do and how we can use it. So if we can use it, it's a powerful thing that assists us with photography to tell the story that we want to tell. The key thing is that what we need is honesty. I think like in this day and age with deepfake and everything, aside from all the editing and everything that we do, as long as we be clear that we use it or we didn't use it or how we use it, as long as we're not hiding anything, we need honesty out of everything. I mean the AI technology that the most worry about is not even the art side, but the actual journalist sort of documenting things. Like whether with the technology that it is hard to tell whether they're actually real pictures or not. That's the main worry. Documentary.
Yeah, well, one of the early images that was used in an example of what you're talking about was an image of Trump on the floor being arrested by cops.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was just an amazing photograph.
It sort of creates these scenes, and I mean everyone can do it. I mean Instagram tries to analyze it and say, oh, this is done by AI. We love to create an image that very much tells the story of the scene as much as well telling the story of ourselves. We impart our visual poetry with the images that we take. So camera is just a canvas, and the way that we take and how we edit is actually the imparting part of ourselves into those images.
Well, Peter, that's all my questions asked. For anyone that would like to see what you do and what you're doing, what's the best place for them to see your work, be it website or social media?
On Instagram could be good, I think. I mean,
great Insta feed, I've got to say. I was lost in that for a while.
Oh, thank you. My website would be good as well, because I got one section where it sort of shows a full image of how Virtuarama is. So it's www.plipictures.com.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram feed is at pli.panda. So I got a small prints in St. Paul's that is currently selling.
Oh, nice.
So those will always be there in the shop in the crypt. 3 of the prints of St. Paul's in there. Yeah.
And have you got anything coming up, Peter?
I'm doing, for the first time, actually been hired to do Virtuaramas like these.
Oh wow, okay.
It's always been a personal project, but um, so Yorkminster seen my work, uh,
Brilliant.
and they wanted a series like that, but now they're making it as part of their upcoming new sort of branding launch.
Yeah.
So we'll get to see the whole sort of thing, well, after this one, I'm going to start editing.
York Minster's got to be up there as well, hasn't
Oh,
it?
Yorkminster is great. I really love it there. Yeah, it's definitely a must visit. And because we last time when I was there, they wanted we created the shots, the interior scenes. So I went and photographed everything as well as doing the virtuamas, and they loved the virtuamas. They were so they were because it was Holy Week as well. So they would burn the incense, but I guess they burnt extra incense, just hoping that when the light comes in, we get
Yeah.
that beam through the smoke. And so we did. So I've got some shots. The more recent one you saw maybe on my feed is the golden is one. There's a very golden scene of the entrance west window of Yorkminster, and there was literally sunset, and the light was cutting through the glass, through the smoke, and then it sort of lit up.
Yeah.
Part of the room.
Brilliant.
It was.
And have you been to Liverpool Cathedral, the newer?
Not yet. I loved it. My friends done. My friends have. I've seen some of the works of my friend, and they did say, "Yeah, Peter, you need to go there."
Yeah, because that's going to be a different dynamic as well, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Peter, that's everything I've asked, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
See you later, mate. Ta-da.
Right, see you later. Bye.
If you've got an exhibition or any other creative project within the arts, or even just want to promote your own artwork, you could do that in podcast form similar to the one you've just listened to. They start at a convenient price point that is comfortable for any artist working on a budget. This podcast itself is created by working artists, and we know how important that is. So to find out more information, you can email us on ministryofartsorg@gmail.com or on Instagram @ministryofartsorg. Ta-da!